A stunning shift raises questions over whether Washington's grip on NATO is finally loosening. For the first time, America steps aside as Europe moves into NATO's command seat. Trump draws a hard line, warning Europe the era of U.S. security guarantees may be ending. The United States is stepping back from running two very important NATO headquarters and letting European military officers take charge instead. A military source told Reuters on February 9th that the U.S. will turn over two NATO's major command posts in Italy and Virginia. These command centers are Naples in Italy, which oversees NATO military operations in parts of Europe, the Mediterranean, and Africa, and Norfolk in Virginia, USA, which focuses on protecting the Atlantic Ocean and moving troops and equipment between North America and Europe. Until now, American generals usually ran these posts. Now, Europeans will be in charge, even though the bases stay where they are. As part of the command reshuffle, European officers would take over NATO's Allied Joint Force Command in Naples and Joint Force Command Norfolk, both currently led by U.S. admirals, said the source cited by Reuters. The U.S. would take the reins of Allied Air Command, Allied Maritime Command, and Allied Land Command. Asked about the planned changes, a NATO official said that allies have agreed on a new distribution. NATO's European allies will play a more prominent role in the alliance's military leadership, the official said. The decision related to planning for future rotations, and more details would be provided in due course. The Transatlantic Alliance, since it was formed in 1949, is argued as Washington's greatest foreign policy. The American power has underwritten European unification and integration, but now the alliance is on ropes. The Trump administration has made clear that the U.S. is no longer interested in acting as Europe's security guarantor. It has threatened to seize the territory of a NATO member, reduced funding to Ukraine, aggressively imposed tariffs on European allies, and, in its 2025 national security strategy, called for cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory. The message could not be clearer. The continent can no longer rely on the United States to defend it. For the first time in 8 decades, Europe stands alone. And the move of turning over 2 NATO bases is in keeping with Trump's demands that European nations take more responsibility for their own security. The Trump administration has called for the military alliance, long dominated by the United States, to become a European-led NATO. In January, testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Secretary of State Marco Rubio downplayed concerns that the Trump administration is undermining the NATO alliance, but also repeated a long-standing complaint that NATO allies need to contribute more to defense spending.
You were a member of this committee. You authored legislation to prevent President Trump from unilaterally leaving NATO, you and Senator Kaine. Do you still believe that the U.S. benefits from NATO?
We do. I mean, but NATO needs to be reimagined as well in terms of the obbligation. And this is not new to this president. Multiple presidents have complained about it.
I
think this president just complains about it louder than other presidents.
Well, I'm just trying to be get a clear answer on where this administration stands relative to NATO, because it's been a very fuzzy message over the last year. And do you agree that we're stronger in confronting China when we do so with like-minded partners, and that China is still the #1 threat that we face in the United States?
Yeah, but our like-minded partners have to have capability, and that's been part of the problem, is the erosion in European defense capabilities, because they've taken vast amount of the monies that these are rich countries. And because of the NATO umbrella, it gave them the flexibility to spend a tremendous amount of their revenues on social programs and not on defense. Now, maybe that trend line will begin to change.
Well, it's already begun to change, frankly, and thanks. And I think the president deserves credit for that. And to the extent to which that unity is undermined, like the talk about Greenland and antagonizing Denmark, then it undermines NATO's ability. And the only people who are excited about that are Vladimir Putin and President Xi.
Yeah, well, I would say that I think our alliances in NATO ultimately are something that's going to work out. Our partners understand the importance of the U.S. presence in NATO. Without the U.S., there is no NATO. And we understand that in order for NATO to be stronger, our partners need to be stronger. And one of the things we've explained to our allies in NATO is the United States is not simply focused on Europe. We also have defense needs in the Western Hemisphere. We have defense needs in the Indo-Pacific. And it will require us. We may be the richest country in the world, but we don't have unlimited resources. And as we reassign
exactly why we want to have allies and partners to help us as we're looking at conflicts around the world. And when we antagonize our allies and partners, and when we send Canada to do a trade deal with China instead of coming to New Hampshire or the United States, it weakens our ability to confront our adversaries.
Yeah, but our allies have to be two things. They have to be willing to step up, but they also have to be capable of stepping up. And frankly, many of them have not.
Our president's comments about NATO, about Denmark, and his attempts to coerce Denmark into giving up Greenland are appalling. They profoundly harmed our security. And I am asking you to do everything you can to reinforce our commitment to NATO.
Now, in the case of Greenland, I'll say we're in a good place right now. We had excellent meetings with the Secretary General of NATO. In fact, even as I speak to you now, there'll be some technical level meetings between us and our partners in Greenland and Denmark on this issue. And I think we have in place a process that's going to bring us to a good outcome for everybody. The president's interest on Greenland has been clear. It's a national security interest. It's a long-standing interest that predate this administration. It's one that our allies acknowledge is real. I think we're going to get something positive done. We're going to begin that process in a very professional, straightforward way. It begins today, and it'll be a regular process. We're going to try to do it in a way that isn't like a media circus every time these conversations happen, because we think that creates more flexibility on both sides to arrive at a positive outcome. And I think we're going to get there. And I thought it was noteworthy and important that despite your concerns, the president at his speech in Davos made very clear that the United States was not going to use force or military force in Greenland. So I think we're going to wind up in a good place. We got a little bit of work to do, but I think we're going to wind up in a good place. And I think you'll hear the same from our colleagues in Europe very shortly.